I am the recognized top womanizer at university. I flit through the flowers without getting caught by a single petal. The only one I truly took seriously was Willow. We talked for a long time, but then, when she was drunk and emotional, she whispered another man's name. She sobbed, saying, "I've had enough fun. I want to find an honest man and marry him." A mouthful of old blood instantly lodged in my throat. A mouthful of old blood instantly lodged in my throat. Damn it. You've had enough fun, but I'm not done yet. Later, in my moment of failure, I happened to run into my first love who had returned to the country. I suddenly became all sincere and said, "Wife, I've always been thinking about you," but the next moment, Anna gently smiled and said, "So, when are you going to take me off your blacklist? As for your previous wrongdoings, we'll talk about it later." And later, day after day, my legs tremble like sifted wheat, as if I can't hold up any longer. And when Willow, with red eyes, begged me to forgive her, Anna raised her eyebrows and mocked. "I'm already showing, but you're still not letting go." Chapter 1. I made my way from a small town to the capital university. I had almost no advantages besides my looks, yet I could easily flit through the crowd without ever getting attached. Whether they were rich young women or brilliant school queens, I could easily win their hearts. I'd play the ambiguous friend role, and after winning them over, I'd act oblivious. As a result, I earned the title of the top womanizer at the capital university. Even so, they still saw me as their idol, treating me with tenderness and dependence. In their eyes, I was a lost soul in need of rescue, and they were sure I would settle down for them. Whenever the mood was right, I'd always redden my eyes and tell the story of my first love, how I once loved her so deeply, but she fell ill during her prime and eventually left me, becoming my eternal regret. Perhaps because of this, I became insecure, unable to truly establish a lasting and stable relationship with the opposite sex. In such moments, I'd look at them with deep, sincere eyes, as if saying, "You're different." That expression, full of love, always made their eyes shine with sympathy and a desire to save me, but I knew clearly, they were just temporarily feeling like saviors. Privately, they still shared dog training strategies on social media, backup plans, and how to train their ATM boyfriends to show their independence and clarity. I didn't feel uncomfortable with it, though. After all, it allowed me to switch between flirtations without guilt. Having such thoughtful backups was simply great. Only with Willow, we really took things seriously for a long time. She was gentle, considerate, understanding, and never went to extremes with feminism. She'd spend months knitting a fine scarf for me by hand. She'd walk through every street with me to find authentic hometown flavors. And after being with me, she would keep her distance from other men. There was no doubt about it, she was my ideal type. Just as things were about to become official, I overheard her, drunkenly murmuring the name of another man. She whispered, "Makoto, I'm done playing. When are you going to marry me?" She leaned against the bar, resting her chin on her hand, swaying slightly, and murmuring, "What am I thinking? I've been with a womanizer like this for so long, and you don't care at all. How could you still wait for me?" The bartender and I were standing nearby and overheard everything. The bartender, moved by her, said thoughtfully, "She even put your contact info as her screensaver. She really loves you." I turned pale, my hair turned green, and my nose was red. I felt like a clown. I scratched my head and said, "Well, I'm not Makoto. I'm just the womanizer who's been with her for so long." The bartender was speechless. He opened his mouth but couldn't say anything. I suppressed my sorrow, paid the bill, and asked the bartender to book her a private room. I was left with nothing but a thin, frail silhouette. Chapter 2. When I got home, my face immediately darkened. I rushed to the bathroom and splashed my face with cold water several times before I could calm down a little. God knows, a mouthful of old blood instantly lodged in my throat. I was wondering why so many people called me a jerk and advised her not to be with me. Yet she still insisted on accepting my confession. Turns out, she was just using me, this loser, as a tool to irritate her ex. Damn it. Using a womanizer as a tool, how is that right? I screamed, "Fuck your mother," countless times in my mind before I could settle my emotions. The bathroom door was knocked on, and I opened it to find David, who looked like he had just woken up. He rubbed his eyes and asked, "Bro, are you okay? Did someone insult you again? Give me their account. I'll go after them." Hearing that warmed my heart. Being in the womanizer business, we're often cursed out, especially by those knights in shining armor, simp protectors, and even stalkers who come to my social media to insult me. I didn't mind. I could even show some magnanimity, but David couldn't stand it and would often fight with those who insulted me late into the night. There were also people in the dorm who disliked me and would often pick fights with me. When he found out, he suggested we move out, so we rented an apartment nearby. After David started his own business in college, he began working hard to earn money. His first car was actually bought as a gift for me. He knew I was a flirt and would even take the initiative to help me check out and introduce beautiful women. When we were kids, I took on the role of parent and cared for him. Now that we're older, the roles had reversed. I patted his back and said, "It's nothing. I'm just planning to switch things up." David looked at me knowingly. He said, "Before, you'd change girlfriends every 2 months at most, but this Willow has been around for almost a year. I thought she was going to be my sister-in-law." I gave a guilty smile. I replied, "How could that be? Do I look like the kind of person, if he knew I'd messed up this time, what would be left of my glorious image in his eyes?" This matter had to be kept between us. Thinking of Willow, I couldn't help but smirk inwardly. If I really played with an innocent girl's heart and got betrayed and tricked in revenge, I'd accept it. That would be what I deserve. But Willow, that bitch, she doesn't deserve that. I curled my lips and looked at David. I said, "David, help me with something tomorrow." Chapter 3. The next day, I went back to the dorm to pick up the rest of my luggage. As soon as I reached the door, I heard the laughter of the jealous cucumber roommate. He laughed and said, "Ha ha ha. Even the womanizer gets played sometimes. This is so satisfying. Always acting like he's the center of the world, thinking all women fall for his act. Now he's seeing reality." "Ha." Another roommate replied, "Martin, your goddess took your money and went to a hotel with another guy. If it weren't for George, you'd still be kept in the dark. Isn't this a bit much?" That was one of the roommates who couldn't stand it and spoke up for me. I pushed the door open and smiled. "For some jealous cucumbers, even my breath is a mistake." Martin looked displeased and said, "So what? Did I say something wrong? You play with so many women, and you're actually proud of it." I looked at him, my eyebrows slightly raised. I smiled and said, "Of course, I'm proud. I don't spend a dime, yet women rush to me and pay for me. I can barely keep up with all the dates. Now, look at you." I gave a playful smirk. I continued, "You eat instant noodles, spend all your pocket money on women, and then, when they turn around, they take your money and go to another guy's hotel, and you still feel like you're part of the action." A few roommates couldn't hold it in and lowered their heads, trying to hold back laughter. He was so angry his face twitched, but he couldn't say a word. I said, "You enjoy insulting me as a womanizer, but do you know how much effort it takes to be a top-tier womanizer? I wake up at 5 every morning, work out for 2 hours, focus on my abs and core. I eat a balanced diet and never touch fried food. To ensure my energy and mental state, I go to bed at exactly 10 p.m. every night. Every day, the first thing I do when I wake up is weigh myself and measure my body fat percentage. I've kept this routine for 5 years, but external conditions are just the basic requirements. To be a better playboy, I majored in psychology and taught myself philosophy. Psychology lets me see through a person's essence and steer the situation in the right direction. Philosophy is the best way to strengthen and arm my brain, keeping me calm and sharp in any situation. I do background checks on every woman I take an interest in. If she's into oil painting, I'll learn about the history of oil painting and the works of Da Vinci, Giorgione, Monet, and other masters. If she loves extreme sports, I'll go try bungee jumping, paragliding, or skydiving. If she's into feminist independence, I'll treat the second sex as my Bible, using circular reasoning to make her happy. I need to both keep up with her conversation and provide emotional value. But when it comes to the flirtation process, maintaining a proper balance is key. Flattering someone too much will only make them think their value is extremely high. The key to understanding human nature is the ultimate emotional fluctuation. Sometimes they're moved to tears, sometimes they feel unbearable pain, sometimes they're indulged in excitement, and sometimes they're anxious and insecure. This emotional volatility creates strong memory anchors in the brain, constantly amplifying their immersion in the relationship. And sunk cost theory tells us, the more someone invests, the harder it is for them to quit halfway. So, I never rush to have someone. I just slowly make sure they can't live without me. On top of that, I need to ensure my abilities to satisfy the desire for strength. As a result, I've ranked first in psychology for 4 years, served as president of both the debate and broadcasting clubs for 2 years, and received an offer to study at a top university in the UK. All this smooth sailing is built on countless days and nights of hard work. I looked at the dumbfounded Martin. I smiled and said, "If you could do what I do, you wouldn't be here complaining." I grabbed my suitcase and left in style, hearing one of my roommates quietly say, "I'm not jealous of his success at all." Chapter 4. After I went downstairs, I immediately wore an expression of despair. People passing by would glance at me, some intentionally, some unconsciously. I picked up my phone, and it was full of missed calls and message notifications. My backup plans were all concerned about my mental state, because just last night, my secondary account was exposed by someone with ill intentions and posted on the campus wall. It recorded the story of a deeply emotional man who, after suffering psychological trauma, got close to the light source. At the end of the story, The light source turned out to be fake, leading to a deeper abyss. Those who heard it were heartbroken, and those who saw it were moved to tears. The post detailed the sweet and sour moments of my ambiguous relationship with Willow, narrating it in an overly dramatic way through words. I've been good with words since I was young, and charming phrases come to me easily. As for the incident at the bar, a bartender even came forward to verify the truth of the story. I had completely become the object of everyone's sympathy. What's more heart-stirring than a prodigal son returning, only to be cruelly betrayed? After all, saving a jerk is far more fulfilling than being with a good, decent guy. It makes a woman feel needed. Another phone call came in, and I answered it with a hoarse voice. A younger female student asked, "Senior, are you okay? Willow's such a bitch. Don't let her get to you." I croaked, "I'm fine. I just want to be alone for a while." She said, "She's not worth your sadness. Maybe you should try looking at other people." I weakly smiled and replied, "Thanks." Of course, I wasn't sad. After all, this secondary account was something I had put out myself. I have more than 10 similar accounts. Each one records the stories of different flirtations. I knew that someday, they would come in handy. Chapter 5. When I got home, David eagerly told me everything that had just happened. He said, "Bro, when I was taking the things you gave me downstairs to throw out, I just so happened to run into Willow in the hallway." He continued. "When she saw the ring and the burned scarf, she almost broke down." I raised an eyebrow, the corners of my mouth lifting into a faint smile. "Last night, I had bought a fake ring and burned the scarf Willow had given me, then casually tossed them into a shoebox. After I saw Willow's message saying she was downstairs, I had David take those items downstairs and throw them away." He understood my intention and, seeing her, he sighed deeply, saying, "As soon as my brother got back, he locked himself in his room and drank in silence. I've never seen him like this before." He glanced at the things in the box and said with a regretful expression, "My brother used to cherish this scarf so much, he wouldn't even let me touch it. And this ring, he spent all his savings to buy it. He said he was going to use it when he proposed. He's already in so much pain. I'm really worried he's going to do something drastic. Who the hell hurt my brother this badly?" I heard that Willow's eyes immediately turned red. She carefully cradled the box of broken items in her arms. Tears streamed down her face as she choked out, "It's all my fault. I'm so sorry, George." Then, she transferred 50,000 yuan to David, asking him to pass it to me but to never let me know it came from her. David couldn't refuse, so he reluctantly accepted it and then said something that struck deep. He said, "My brother said meeting you was like finding redemption. He thought you were special, but in the end, he lost, and he lost terribly." Willow's psychological defenses completely crumbled in that moment. Chapter 6. I gave David a thumbs up. Without him, I really wouldn't make it. David suddenly gave a shy smile. He said, "Bro, I need to discuss something with you. Aren't you going to study abroad in the UK? Why don't you become one of those men who are loved but unattainable, and I'll play the role of your substitute?" My brain went completely blank for a long moment before finally reconnecting. I asked, "Are you out of your mind?" He smiled mysteriously and said, "Just treat it as my little kink. This way, you'll be able to get rid of their entanglements, and I can take the opportunity to make some money. As for the money, how about we split it 70 to 30? The frown on my face immediately loosened. Money wasn't the issue. My brother had always been well-behaved and thoughtful. So what if he had a little kink? Of course, I'd indulge him. As my brother, he should get the best of everything. So, I set my sights on a rich young lady in the upper-class circle. Alicia, the wealthy, never been in a relationship young lady, was practically the perfect candidate. And so, I encountered the biggest failure of my life. I met her at an art exhibition and, confidently and casually, took the initiative to strike up a conversation. "Does Sue like oil painting too?" To my surprise, she coldly glanced at me and said, "I like comics." Damn it. I followed her to an empty classroom, planning to act like it was a coincidence and get closer. She immediately stood up, not giving me a single glance, and muttered to herself, "I think I'm being haunted by a ghost. Maybe I should find a master to take a look." I was speechless. After several failed attempts, I finally managed to enter the Sue family's private room. Before I could say anything, I bumped into a server. A ceramic wine cup shattered on impact. Alicia Sue propped her chin up with one hand, calmly looking at me and saying, 10 million, pay up." I closed my eyes, feeling like I was about to explode. She's blatantly scamming me, and she still has the nerve to act like this. Just as I was about to lash out and curse her out, she cheerfully said, "How about this? Why don't you introduce me to your brother, and we'll call this whole thing off? How does that sound?" I was stunned. "You like him?" Alicia blinked and said, "Yeah." After hearing the full story, I couldn't help but sigh. Is there really such a perfect match in the world? All right, I agree to this arrangement. But then I thought of something, and my face turned serious. I said, However, you should prepare yourself. My brother is into cosplay. Alicia was speechless. Chapter 7. As I stepped out the door, I exhaled a long breath. The more I got close to Alicia Sue, the more I felt an odd sense of discomfort. It wasn't that I felt embarrassed, but whenever she acted all sarcastic, I would somehow see the shadow of a past acquaintance, and the surname was the same. Could it be? I lowered my head in thought and bumped into someone. The sweet scent of citrus hit me, and I froze in place. Before my brain could process it, I felt a sharp sting in my eyes. I looked up with red eyes and saw that familiar face, the one etched deep in my memories from my youth. The once delicate and youthful girl had already shed her innocence. Beneath those refined, delicate brows and eyes, the cool, aloof air she carried was even more pronounced than before. She parted her red lips, and those peach blossom eyes that should have looked gentle now held nothing but mockery. She asked, "Sir, do I look like your first love who died of illness?" I stared at her blankly. I adjusted my emotions, and with a painful tone, I said, "Anna, it hurts." My chin trembled slightly, and I choked on my words. Anna's smile gradually faded, and her gaze tightened as she spoke impatiently. "Don't tell me you're mourning for another woman." I remained silent, but my phone rang at just the right moment. It was Willow. Anna naturally picked up my phone and answered it. Willow's voice came through. "Georgie bro, I know I was wrong, but at least let me see you. Can we do that?" I looked at Anna. Her peach blossom eyes locked onto me. Her lips pressed into a straight line. Her calm and gentle exterior seemed like it could vanish at any moment, revealing the hidden obsession and instability underneath. The next second, she smiled seductively and dropped the phone on the floor. On the other end of the line, Willow asked, "Where are you? Georgie bro, are you there? Say something." The room was deathly silent. Anna pressed herself tightly against me, her soft arm wrapped around my neck. The sweet scent of her breath lingered near my nose. She rose on her tiptoes, wild like a little feral cat, filled with unreasonable eagerness, desperately craving my presence. I could taste the intimate kiss, the faint sounds of it echoing and hitting sensitive nerves one after another. In the silent, dimly lit room, only the sounds of our intertwined breaths remained. It seemed Willow sensed something was off, and her tone turned cold. She asked with dissatisfaction, "George, who are you with?" Anna slowly pulled away, gently pressing her finger to the lip she had bitten until it bled. In the dim light, her eyes were dark and deep, like a cold, bottomless pool. Her voice had a slight breathiness to it, seductive and captivating. She said, "Just take me off your blacklist first. As for your past mistakes, we'll talk about them later." Okay. My mind, still dazed, finally snapped back to reality at that moment. I smiled at her, my expression soft, my voice laced with longing as I said, "Go to hell." Anna was speechless. I picked up my phone, hung up, and walked away without looking back. Chapter 8. When I reached the bottom of the apartment building, I saw Willow crouching in the corner of the staircase. Her petite figure was hidden in the shadows, and several crumpled tissues were scattered at her feet, giving her a frail and wronged appearance. When she heard movement, she stood up and looked at me. Her eyes were filled with tears, moist and glistening. We stared at each other for a few seconds, and she lowered her head, wiped her eyes, then tightly clenched the tissues in her hand, as if forcing herself to calm down. She said, "I'll clean this up when I leave." I averted my gaze, too lazy to play along anymore, and turned to walk away. She quietly asked, "George, who was the woman you were with just now?" I stopped in my tracks and turned back. I asked, "Who are you to question me? Come on, it's been nearly a year, and you still haven't gotten that Makoto to come back." I had done a lot of digging to learn about this person named Makoto. Willow and Makoto had grown up together, and Makoto had loved her for many years. But before university, Willow had been a gold digger, only looking for rich and handsome men, and she didn't look at poor guy Makoto. She even distanced and hurt him because of her friend's instigation. Makoto, disheartened, changed his university application and severed ties with Willow completely. When Willow realized what she had done, she regretted it deeply and went to his school to try to win him back, but found him with another girl, smiling brightly. She believed that Makoto was only doing this to make her regret, and so I became her target. Willow used all her tricks to weave a web full of love and tenderness. To make Makoto jealous, she even managed to drag me into it, but in the end, that web only trapped her. At the end of it all, she grasped nothing. Willow lowered her gaze in despair, her lashes trembling. She spoke with difficulty. "I know, Makoto won't come back. It's always just been my obsession. He told me, the past can't be changed. I should focus on the present." Willow looked at me, pain rising in her eyes. She choked up and said, "That night, I got myself drunk and realized that Makoto's shadow was getting farther away, while your smile was becoming clearer. I think I've really let go." She continued, "In this past year, I've seen so many sides of you that no one knows. and my emotions have been stirred countless times by you. I've long since lost track of whether I was acting or if I've just become accustomed to being with you. Seeing me silent, she slowly walked toward me, her eyes filled with pleading and a hint of hope. She choked up again and said, "George, I'm sorry, but I'm willing to do anything to make it up to you. Please, give me one more chance. I'm begging you." Willow tried to throw herself into my arms, but I shoved her away, crossing my arms and looking down at her, a mocking smile curling at the corners of my mouth. I laughed and said, "Don't overdo it with the pity act. You look really ugly when you cry." Maybe it was the first time she had seen me so cruel. She stood frozen, her pupils trembling, unable to say a word. I sneered, "Do you love Makoto? I doubt it. You've just gotten used to him chasing after you, taking his affection for granted, and when he left, you couldn't accept it. You're the same with me. You can't accept that you wasted a year of your life and ended up with nothing. So you put on this pitiful act to make yourself feel better." She cried, shaking her head desperately. "I don't. I'm sincere with you." I asked, "Really? If Makoto came back, what would you do?" Her pale lips parted, and she lowered her gaze to avoid my eyes. I grinned and looked at her, saying, "I know exactly what kind of woman you are. You'd go back to him. Then on a night when you're mad at him, you'll remember me, feeling guilty while indulging yourself in pleasure. And when it gets exposed, you'll angrily blame me, the bad guy." Willow, admit it. You're just a bitch who can't change her ways, forever stuck in regret and dissatisfaction. I no longer looked like the warm, gentle guy from before. I tore away her facade without mercy. Willow's face turned ashen, and she left in a hurry, almost running, her high heels clicking as she fled. It was as if I was a monster, and even her back seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. Chapter 9. When I got home, I found that David had gone to class, and only then did the tension in my body finally relax. For some strange reason, I logged into an old secondary account on social media. I searched through a handful of followers and found someone. Luckily, he was still posting. The latest post was a silhouette of him kissing a woman under the sunset on the beach. The caption read, "Childhood sweethearts, finally together." Bang. I threw my phone, and the screen shattered into pieces. My heart seemed to be squeezed at that moment, making it hard to breathe. The vague hope that had risen in my mind was shattered in an instant. All that remained was the unbearable anger and helplessness. Childhood sweethearts. Again with the childhood sweethearts. Anna was like that. Willow was like that. Is this my fate, that I, George, can never have a childhood sweetheart? In the first year of high school, a transfer student named Anna joined our class. Though she was reserved, the noble aura around her was undeniable. Beneath her gentle and quiet exterior was a sense of distance that kept everyone at bay. In the first few days, during breaks, many boys would pretend to go to the restroom or look for someone, just to casually glance at her. The girls were also very vigilant, worried that she might steal their crush. As for me, from the moment I laid eyes on her, I knew I had to win her over. Most of the students in our small town were shy and introverted. None dared confess their feelings. I wasn't like them. I would take the initiative to chat with her and ask her questions, though these questions were ones I already knew inside and out. I would take the opportunity to give her little gifts as a thank you once she answered. Sometimes it was a bottle of milk, other times a bag of snacks, or even a wooden sculpture I made with my own hands. I knew that girls from big cities had seen expensive gifts before, but a handmade gift would stand out and be special. When the monthly exam results were posted, Anna stood by the bulletin board for a long time. The rankings were posted there. First place, George. Second place, Anna. Her eyes trembled slightly, and she shot me a cold glare. "Are you messing with me?" I pretended to be innocent and said, "It's all thanks to your teaching. It's your achievement." Her gaze became complicated. After a long pause, she parted her lips and said, "Don't ask me about questions again, and don't give me any more gifts." The implication was clear: stop bothering me. My smile faded slightly, and I lowered my gaze. "All right, got it." With that, I turned and left. Chapter 10. For the next month, I didn't approach her at all. I didn't even make eye contact with her. In our small classroom, it felt as though there was an entire galaxy separating us. Many people noticed that we had broken up, and they thought they had another chance. The girls eagerly came to me to discuss study problems, while the boys would occasionally hover near Anna. The difference was that I smiled at every classmate, patiently and gently helping them with their problems. Meanwhile, the curve of Anna's lips faded more and more each day, so much so that, during class, I often felt a cold, piercing gaze on my back, but it didn't affect me. I still kept my promise, never once glancing at Anna. I carried out the words "like strangers" to the extreme, until one day after school, a few thugs cornered me in an alley. The leader, in an overly dramatic tone, said, "You dare to covet my woman?" I spoke calmly. "You've got the wrong guy. I don't even know who your woman is." He immediately exploded, cursing loudly. "Stop acting, or I'll make you regret it. Do you believe me? I stepped back warily and said, if you guys lay a hand on me, I won't let it slide. The leader laughed mockingly, his face full of disdain, and said, who do you think you are? You're an orphan with no parents, treated like a beast by your uncle's family, with no home. What do you have to fight me? As he spoke, he signaled to his underlings to surround me. I felt a tightness in my chest and hurriedly explained, how could I mess with your woman? I have a girlfriend, I added. My girlfriend is Anna. Who doesn't know that? Anna Sue, the Sue family's daughter. Am I crazy to be with other women behind her back? Do I want to die? The thug sneered as if he had heard a joke. You're really good at making things up. Who doesn't know that Anna never bothers with you? And here you are, making yourself out to be something special. But then, the familiar sound of a woman's voice came from the alley entrance. Why are you bullying my boyfriend? Anna stood there, her brows furrowed slightly, her eyes filled with an unmistakable concern. Beside her, the bodyguard stood impassively, exuding an aura of cold intimidation, like a wall blocking the path, the pressure around him palpable. The thugs went pale, laughing awkwardly and quickly apologizing, then scurrying off in defeat. I scratched my head, my voice unexpectedly carrying a hint of apology. I was just talking nonsense. I won't do it again. With that, I quickly walked past her and left in a hurry. Chapter 11. The next day, I was back to my usual self. I chatted and laughed with others as if nothing had happened the day before. However, a new rumor began to spread around the campus. They said that Anna and I were in a secret relationship. She, however, seemed determined to make that rumor come true, following me around everywhere. As a result, we were even called in for a talk with the teacher. After leaving the office, I awkwardly said, thanks for that day, but it's better if we keep some distance from now on. Her lips pressed into a tight line, and her peach blossom eyes were filled with disappointment. After that, she did indeed keep her distance, just as I had wished, until the day I was on duty. When a classmate and I went to take out the trash, I smiled and handed her a wooden tiger sculpture, one I had made myself. She was taken aback, about to take it, when a slender arm blocked us. A faint fragrance wafted by, and a fair, smooth hand took the sculpture. Anna turned to the girl and smiled sweetly. Classmate, can I buy this from you? Name your price. The girl glanced at me before lowering her head and leaving. I was getting impatient and said, Anna, what do you mean by this? Are you trying to ruin things for me on purpose? Are you out of your mind? She pouted, her voice tinged with a little grievance, and said, just consider me crazy. She paused for a moment before continuing. George, I've changed my mind. You can only come to me for questions and bring me gifts. That day, the sunset stretched our shadows close together, as if we were merging into one, inseparable. I knew the time had come. The next day, I deliberately exposed the frightening scars on my arm. Anna's eyes reddened. After school, she insisted on taking me to her house to apply medicine and bandage it. That night, the moon was big and bright, casting enough light to clearly see the fine hairs on her profile. Laughter and shouting could be heard from the yard, and she nervously curled up into my arms. That was our first embrace. My uncle and aunt were arrested for their crimes. Finally, our lives returned to a peaceful calm. With that, my plan was perfectly executed. Chapter 12. The more she cared for me, the more my initial intention seemed utterly despicable. At an age when true feelings should be exchanged, even a hedgehog becomes soft with a little kindness. I confessed to her that everything had been a manipulation, and I was prepared for her to get angry and distance herself from me. But Anna just shook her finger and said, I already know. She continued, but I'm still willing. Want to know why? Her eyes blinked lightly, like the spring waters of a river stirring, sending ripples across my heart. I cleared my throat and said, we can't be in a relationship too early. She snorted and asked, so what? I replied, so, after the college entrance exams, we can make the rumor official. Anna gave a soft hum, her gentle voice tinged with a hint of joy. But to my surprise, not long after, the news came that she and her childhood sweetheart were going abroad together. No one knew that I had met her childhood sweetheart once. He was a second-generation rich heir, his every move exuding dominance. I still can't forget the look he gave me. It was the kind of look one would give a maggot in the gutter, disgusted by even a second glance. He greeted me politely. I'm Kevin. I've known Anna since we were little. You should know. Someone like you will never be with her. We're going abroad, and we hope you'll stay away from her. The unspoken message was clear. I didn't deserve Anna, and they were meant to be together. Honestly, I envied him. Born at the top of the pyramid, raised with the indulgence of his family, he could get anything he wanted just by reaching out his hand. He didn't have to care about anyone's opinion or feelings. Even if he acted recklessly, there was always someone there to cover for him. That's why he could speak to me in that high-handed tone. But I wasn't like that. After my parents passed, my brother and I became orphans, living off the charity of others. I had to be obedient and sensible. I had to read the room. As the eldest, I had to protect my brother. I had to carry the weight of this broken family. Even now, despite wanting to punch him in the face, I knew I couldn't afford the consequences of doing so. I took a deep breath, forced a smile, and said to him, "Are you so sure that Anna will go abroad with you?" Kevin raised an eyebrow, the disdain in his eyes unmistakable. He asked, "Want to make a bet?" I didn't respond, and he turned to leave. Even without his words, I knew. It seemed like I had only this one card to play against him. I had given my heart, so I bet that Anna also had feelings for me. Even if it wasn't much, at least before she left, she would say goodbye to me. The next day, the homeroom teacher told us that Anna had gone abroad. No explanation, not a word, not even a message. I understood the expression on Kevin's face before he left. He was already certain of his victory. I had lost completely. Chapter 13. Maybe it was out of shame and anger, or maybe it was self-deception. To preserve the last bit of my pathetic self-respect, I threw everything that carried the memories of the two of us into a metal bin. The unfinished wooden sculpture, the bracelets we bought together while shopping, the handmade little figurines we made, the pen she borrowed, the notebook she wrote in, even the red string tied around the ancient tree at the temple with our names written on it. I pulled it down and burned it all to ashes. I truly severed all ties. The flames flickered, reflecting in my eyes. They also ignited the burning anger in my heart. Money, I will have it in the future. Fame and fortune, I will have them too. Women, I will have plenty. I will climb to the top and then give them the middle finger, saying, "What are you even worth?" As my thoughts settled, I also calmed down. Thinking back on my childish mindset, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. It felt like all my irrationality had been for Anna. My life is my own. What does it have to do with anyone else? No one will care how I live my life. And now, we're strangers. Why should I care about them? But I can understand. The heavens gave me a smart brain and outstanding looks, so it's not surprising that I'd face some heartache in love. Once I realized this, my heart became as still as water. Whether it's Anna or Willow, they can both just stay the hell away from me. I glanced at the phone lying on the ground, then picked up my tablet and sent David a message. I wrote, "Bring me a new phone when you get back. Out with the old, in with the new." Chapter 14. Soon, it was time to leave for my trip abroad. At the airport, I briefly talked to David about Alicia. Seeing his eager expression, a dark sense of amusement rose in me. How long would this CEO pretending to be a substitute cosplay last? What I didn't expect was that after David left, I would run into Anna. However, after giving myself a little psychological pep talk, when I faced her, I felt completely calm. I could even smile and joke with her. "Are you here to send me off?" She was wearing a polo dress, looking casual and relaxed. She squinted at me and asked, "Why is it that as soon as I come back, you want to leave? Are you avoiding me?" I kept my smile. Maybe it's just that we don't have much fate together. I glanced at my watch and nodded at her. "I'm about to board. Let's talk next time we meet." Anna pressed her lips together without saying anything, standing still as she watched me walk away. Once on the plane, I looked out the window and slowly exhaled. The anger and frustration from the past should come to an end. It was time for me to begin my next journey. However, 3 minutes later, an unexpected voice broke the silence. "Excuse me, sir. I'm in first class. Would you mind switching seats with me?" The middle-aged man sitting next to me happily agreed. The familiar faint fragrance drifted into my nose, and I turned to look at her. I was speechless and said, "Are you Samara? Can't you just leave me alone?" Anna's light-colored eyes were shining with light, looking especially bright. She smiled slightly and said, "Yeah, I just can't die in peace." I was speechless. Chapter 15. On the plane, she tried to explain why she left without saying goodbye and that there was nothing between her and Kevin. I wasn't interested in hearing her nonsense, so I interrupted. "Don't disturb the others while they're trying to rest." Suddenly, a head popped up from the seat in front of us. The person said, "Hey, let her talk. We want to hear too." Someone else from behind chimed in, "Yeah, don't worry. We won't disturb you." I calmly closed my eyes. I covered myself with the blanket and said, "It's disturbing me." After a pause, Anna gave a soft laugh and said, "Then go ahead and sleep. Anyway, there's plenty of time ahead." As soon as we got off the plane, I grabbed my suitcase, ready to leave. Anna, however, grabbed my sleeve and looked up at me. She said, "Wait a minute, we can go together." Just then, an excited male voice came from beside us. "George, I'm over here." It was a mixed-race guy, Chris, my future roommate. He was with a pretty girl, her features delicate and well-defined, her smile a little shy. She waved at me and, in halting Mandarin, said, "Hello, brother. I'm Chris's sister, Tina." I couldn't help but smile. A cute mixed-race beauty. I couldn't even imagine how good life in the UK would be. The three of us walked ahead, chatting and laughing. As for Anna, She had already been completely ignored. Chris leaned in and asked, "George, what's up with the beautiful girl behind us? Why does she look so upset?" Without looking back, I replied, "Oh, maybe she's constipated." Chapter 16. I had been in the UK for a while and was starting to adjust to life there. I was just so busy, there was no time to fish. Besides, the women here are so cold and indifferent, they totally ignore my attempts at flirting. Is this normal? I had to comfort myself, telling myself that everyone has different tastes, no need to force it. On the other hand, Anna kept hanging around me when she had nothing else to do, and it was getting annoying. One day, after class, dragging my exhausted body to the school entrance, I unexpectedly ran into a familiar face. Kevin had changed quite a bit compared to before. His hair was neatly styled, and he was dressed in a formal suit. The biggest change was his demeanor. He had matured a lot. He frowned and stared at me for a long time, his face a little tense. I raised an eyebrow. "Here to warn me again," he replied. "Forget it. I think you and Anna are a good match. I wish you both the best." Kevin's expression was complicated. Just as he was about to say something, he was interrupted. Anna asked, "Who do you think I'm a good match with?" Anna was wearing a black dress, her aura cool and elegant. She stepped over and stood beside me, her posture intimate, as if the years of distance between us had never existed. My temper flared up. I sneered. "What? Are you two just bored and thought of having some fun with me?" A flash of pain and guilt appeared in Anna's eyes. Her voice was hoarse as she said, "George, I'm sorry." Kevin took a deep breath and looked at me. He said, "The misunderstanding and separation between you two were caused by me. I owe you both an apology. Let's go to a cafe. I'll explain everything to you." Anna pursed her lips, her expression unhappy. Kevin gave a small, strained smile and said, "I just want to make up for my mistake." He looked at me, clearly waiting for my response. The person who had once looked down on me was now apologizing sincerely. Whether out of curiosity or nostalgia, or both, I nodded and agreed. Kevin let out a relieved sigh, a smile of relief on his face. He said, "Thank you." Chapter 17. The cafe hidden in the shopping street offered a quiet escape from the bustle. The soft, melodic music gradually eased the tension in my heart. Kevin sat across from me, stirring his coffee, and slowly began speaking. The reason Anna left so suddenly was because her father was seriously ill. She asked me to explain to you, and you probably know the rest. As for the harsh words I said to you, they were both her brother's request and my own selfishness. I'm sorry. He turned his head to look at a woman chatting with someone by the window. A trace of nostalgia and relief appeared on his face. He said, "Anna has always been outstanding in both character and appearance. Compared to others, she could be considered perfect. It's completely natural to fall for her. But even though she wasn't opposed to me, there was always this distance between us. I thought that as long as I kept treating her well, she'd eventually be moved. So I foolishly cleared away all the obstacles." At this point, he gave a self-deprecating smile. He continued, "She did realize how I felt, and made it clear that we were just friends. I begged her and even lost my temper. But all I got in return was her distance. I had no choice but to return to the role of a friend, pretending nothing had ever happened. When the relationship finally started to ease, she transferred schools and fell for you, some small-town exam-focused guy who is nothing like me." I furrowed my brow and looked at him, but he smiled at me openly, without shame, and said, "Sorry, but that's how I really felt at the time. Maybe all unrequited love eventually turns into resentment. So I let jealousy drive me to provoke you. It felt like if I saw you suffer, I could finally get revenge and feel good. But you remained so calm, making me look like a clown." I took a sip of my coffee. People with different perspectives can't empathize with each other, so we couldn't see through each other's facade. But here we were, sitting peacefully together, like old friends sharing past grievances, which, in a way, was a sign of growth, wasn't it? He said. "After going abroad, Anna found out that you had blocked all her contact information, and I told her the truth. That was the biggest argument we had. I couldn't understand why she'd fall for a guy like you. A jerk." She said if it were you, you would never speak ill of someone else. That's the difference between us. We parted on bad terms, and from then on, we were strangers. Kevin said he was initially angry and embarrassed. He had a good family background, a comfortable life, and certainly wasn't as shallow as I was. How could Anna say he was worse than me? To escape reality, Kevin traveled all over the world and met people from all walks of life. He met refugees who fought to the death over a piece of bread, children sold by their parents, and countless other struggling souls fighting to survive. He said, "Gradually, I started thinking about you, started to understand you, and even began to admire you. George, you've carried your burdens through all these difficulties. You fought through life's struggles to get where you are today. I apologize for my past prejudices. I'm sorry. I finally understand why Anna likes you." The coffee was almost gone, and the misunderstanding was finally cleared up. His expression was calm, and his smile became more relaxed, as if the knot in his heart had finally unraveled. He handed me a business card. He said, "This is my contact information. The damage I caused can't be undone, but I'll do my best to make amends. If you ever need help, feel free to reach out." I took it with composure. I replied, "All right, I'll gladly accept." In the adult world, there's no such thing as forgiving and forgetting with a smile. Only real, practical exchanges of interests. When connections are offered, they should be utilized. Finally, I asked him, slightly puzzled, "Do you have a girlfriend now?" He was taken aback for a moment, realized what I was asking, then shook his head and smiled. "When we were kids, I had plenty of playmates. How could I have just one childhood sweetheart?" Chapter 18. After Kevin left, Anna pushed the door open and entered. She cautiously glanced at my expression, hesitant to speak. I spokely. "He already told me everything." Anna's eyes brightened slightly, and she pressed her lips together. I didn't leave without saying anything on purpose. That day, my brother smashed my phone, and I could only ask Kevin to explain things to you, but who would have known? Her voice trailed off, growing quieter, filled with regret and a hint of helplessness. I couldn't help but find it a little funny. After she left, I blocked all her contact information. Anna wasn't without trying to reach me from other numbers. It was the age when pride meant everything. The woman I loved ran off with a rich and handsome guy, and I couldn't swallow that humiliation. So I made up a lie, telling her not to contact me again, claiming that I had a girlfriend and that she should respect herself, or I'd make sure she'd never see me again. She knew that when I said something, I followed through, and she had no choice but to back off. Once the anger subsided, reason returned. I began to consider whether she might have had her reasons. So, I put some effort into finding Kevin's social media account. What I saw were photos of him traveling the world. He looked vibrant and free, and occasionally, there were items that hinted at the presence of women in his life. The top comment, "Childhood sweethearts, love is always so sweet." I didn't have the courage to look further, realizing how foolish and sad I was for making excuses for Anna. After that day, I completely erased her from my life. Avoidance may be shameful, but it worked. I shook my head with a smile and said, "It's a bit nostalgic. A misunderstanding that lasted for so many years." I continued, "It's not your fault. It's my fault for not giving you a chance to explain." Then I shifted the conversation. "But I'm not wrong either, because my pride matters more than anything. I guess it's fate. No destiny for us after all." Anna pressed her lips tightly together, looking at me with a mix of panic and confusion. She said, "George, I interrupted her. I said, "Anna, we've been apart for 5 years, not 5 days. The changes between us are so drastic. Calling it earth-shattering wouldn't even be an exaggeration. Our experiences and mindset are completely different now. It's not just about clearing up the misunderstanding and going back to how things were. I've truly let go of you, and I really have liked other women. You don't really think I'm dating someone to try to get you back, do you?" She lowered her eyes, her long lashes casting a shadow beneath them. I comforted her. "Maybe it's just an obsession you have with me. You need to break free from the cycle you're in to meet someone better." Anna silently smiled through her tears. Her eyes were red, and her voice trembled as she said, "George, how do you know I'm not willing to stay trapped in this cycle?" I froze for a moment. The next second, she threw herself into my arms, her shoulders trembling slightly. She said, "For the past 5 years, I've been watching you. I've seen you silence your opponents in debates, seen you confidently soar on stage, and seen you exhausted in the library, about to fall asleep. My feelings for you haven't lessened. On the contrary, they've only grown stronger." She said, "But now you're telling me to let go. How could I possibly let go?" Her sweet breath brushed against my nose. Her hoarse voice slightly choked. She choked out, "George, at least don't sentence me to death like this. Don't I deserve a chance? This isn't fair to me." I remained silent for a long time, but eventually, I relented. Chapter 19. After graduation, I successfully received offers from several top psychology consulting firms, both domestic and international. Chris organized a celebration for me at the bar. Foreigners are always enthusiastic and outgoing, but I couldn't get into those over-the-top games, so I found an excuse to step outside for some fresh air. "George, are you okay?" My head was a little dizzy, and Tina quickly helped steady me. In the dim light, her eyes were as clear as water, gazing at me without blinking. I slowly cleared my head, pulled my hand away, and said, "I'm fine. Go back in and have fun with them." I knew Tina had feelings for me, but I wasn't in the right state of mind for that. "Georgie, brother." My eyelid twitched, and I was about to correct her, when suddenly, a bright light flashed, and I looked up to see Anna getting out of the car. She naturally linked her arm with mine, her gaze cold, her dark eyes narrowing as she looked at the people around us, a subtle warning in her eyes. With a cold snort, she said, "I won't disturb your gathering tonight. I'm heading home with my boyfriend." Tina stared at me, Her eyes filled with reluctance. I was eager to get Tina to drop the unrealistic idea, so I nodded toward her and said, "Yeah, I'll go back with my girlfriend. Please tell your brother for me." A look of disappointment flickered in her eyes, but she simply nodded and went inside. As I turned around, I saw the smile on the woman's lips next to me, as if she was in a good mood. I couldn't help but say, "It's not real. So what are you happy about?" Ever since I agreed to her before, she'd been cutting off all my chances with other women. My earlier confusion was cleared up. It wasn't that I couldn't do it. It was that someone had been secretly sabotaging me. She parted her red lips and softly whispered, her words lost to the night, carried only by the wind. She said, "It will come true, eventually." Chapter 20. When I got home, Anna expertly rolled up her sleeves and entered the kitchen, bringing out a pot of hot hangover soup. Curious, I asked, "How did you get in?" She leisurely ladled the soup, giving me a soft laugh as she said, "Chris gave me the code." Ever since I gave in 3 years ago, she had taken ownership of my kitchen, cooking meals and making soups for us. She'd come and go as naturally as if it were her own house. I worried Chris might have an issue with it, but he just smiled and waved it off. "If you don't let her come, my stomach will protest." Now, he even gave her the house code. I sighed and rubbed my forehead. Anna placed the warm soup in front of me. She said, "Drink this and go to bed, or you'll have a headache tomorrow." Her voice was gentle, soft, and sweet, carrying a hint of tenderness. I looked up at her, her clear eyes, framed by soft steam from the soup, giving off a warmth that hit me hard. The thought of a sense of home made my heart tremble, my breath catching for a moment. Though I had the hangover soup, my head still felt foggy. I stared at Anna for a long time. She parted her red lips and asked, "What's the matter? Why are you staring at me like that?" The next second, I leaned in and kissed her lips, the warmth testing, with a hint of sweetness. Anna's pupils shook, frozen in place. I pulled back slightly, a rare mischievous smile on my face. I said, "Now we're even." The next moment, she wrapped her arms around my neck and straddled my lap. Her soft, warm kisses following in quick succession. The familiar scent lingered at the tip of my nose, her tongue eagerly tangled with mine. Such blatant seduction, who could resist? At the very last, on the verge of losing myself, she whispered encouraging words. I kissed her again, until I heard her broken words, barely forming a sentence. Chapter 21. A month later, I stood speechless, holding Anna's pregnancy test results in my hands. I looked at Anna, who was blushing beside me, and complained, "Are you out of your mind? What kind of body does she have to get pregnant on the first try?" Her lips curled into a victorious smile. The little sparkles in her eyes danced with joy. She said, "Husband, whether I'm sick or not, this report already proves everything." I was speechless. The news about Alicia's engagement was causing a stir back in China. I looked at Anna and asked with a sharp tone, "So what about your niece?" She was drinking carrot juice casually and replied, "I'm not sure, but Alicia isn't that kind of person." It wasn't until I came to the UK that I found out Anna was actually Alicia's aunt, but the age difference between them was only a year. Sue family's mother had been an older mother, and after suffering a serious illness, she passed away soon after giving birth to Anna. The Sue family's father, deeply hurt by the loss of his wife, became ill and went abroad for recovery. Sue family's eldest son took over the family business, neglecting his younger sister, perhaps blaming her for their mother's death. Anna, always well-behaved and considerate, was gentle and kind to everyone, never causing any trouble for her family. Even so, she never felt accepted by them. She transferred to that small town, probably the most rebellious thing she ever did. It was her mother's hometown. That's where we met. Later, her father's health deteriorated, and she had no choice but to leave in the middle of the night. Fortunately, her father was saved. Perhaps because he had been so close to death, he finally realized that he had ignored this child for 16 years. He wanted to mend their relationship, and with the excuse of his illness, he kept Anna in the UK. Before he passed, he stubbornly held Anna's hand and asked, "Do you resent me?" Anna said she didn't. Her answer was gentle but distant. I don't know what the Sue family's father was really thinking, but I feel sorry for Anna Sue. When she needed family the most, everyone treated her like she didn't exist. They vented all their resentment on such a young girl, never considering how much she must have suffered or blamed herself. And when she no longer needed her father and brother, they came back and emotionally blackmailed her, pretending to be the loving family they never were, self-deceiving and playing the role of a close-knit family. It's ridiculous. What did Anna do wrong? She had been tortured for so many years. She didn't choose to be born into that family. Chapter 22. Thinking about all of this, I couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Anna, seeing this, threw herself into my arms and asked, "Husband, what's wrong?" I stroked her head, my tone low and somber. "Anna, my heart aches for you." She froze for a moment, then gently chuckled and snuggled into me. The sound of her laughter resonated in my chest, sending waves of warmth through my heart. She said, "If I knew you cared this much about me, I would have complained even more." I chuckled softly. The next moment, Anna slid a diamond ring onto her ring finger. Anna stared at the ring in shock, her eyes wide with surprise. I said, "Your family hasn't treated you well, and if I don't treat you well, I can't imagine how much that would hurt you." I continued, "This time, let me be the one to be your family. Okay, the wedding should be the grandest, and the wedding dress should be the most beautiful." Her eyes reddened, and she buried her face in my chest, choking out, "Okay." Chapter 23. After witnessing the fiasco of David and Alicia's engagement, Anna and I both agreed that the misunderstanding needed to be cleared up sooner rather than later. With our friends and family all in China, we decided to hold the wedding there. After returning to China, I met Anna's older brother for the first time. His face was still not in the best shape, but there was nothing he could say. First of all, he had no control over us. Second, he couldn't even control his own daughter, who insisted on marrying no one but my brother. And most importantly, I had already achieved the ambitions I had in my youth, and I no longer needed to depend on anyone. The whole "we're from different worlds" argument could go to hell. I spent a month preparing, giving Anna the grandest wedding possible, but the guests were all people Anna invited. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but Anna invited everyone from my past relationships, including Willow. She even arranged for them to sit at the same table. This woman just kept pushing her limits, constantly crossing the line. I said, "Anna, you really want to stir up trouble, don't you?" She looked down with a hint of innocence and grievance. She said, "I've been so jealous of you for these past 4 years in college. It wasn't easy for us to get back together. Can't I show off a little?" Since we got back together, she had become more demanding, but when I looked into her eyes, as warm as autumn sunlight, my heart softened. I said, "Fine, do as you wish." During the toasts, Willow kept her lips sealed, surrounded by a heavy, defeated aura. This was thanks to someone's relentless provocation. When I first returned to China, Willow begged me for forgiveness multiple times. After she found out I was getting married, she even came to my house crying in the middle of the night. But it was Anna who answered the door, radiating an icy coldness. That was the first time I saw her speak in such a harsh tone. Taking off her gentle, composed mask, she raised an eyebrow, revealing a wicked sneer. She said sarcastically, "I'm already showing, but you're still not letting go. Just get lost." Despite being humiliated like this, she still showed up at my wedding. Willow looked up at me, a painful smile tugging at her lips. She said, "George, I wish you happiness." And, "I'm sorry." I didn't respond. Just as I hadn't accepted Kevin's apology, the wounds I had suffered couldn't be healed with a light sorry. In this life, there's no need to force a perfect ending. Victims have the right to refuse forgiveness. Chapter 24. That night, Anna was unusually drunk. The corners of her eyes were tinged with a hint of vulnerability that had never shown before. She clung tightly to my arm, as if afraid I might slip away. I sighed helplessly and softly comforted her. She gazed at me, her voice full of grievance as she said, "If only we had never separated." I had thought about that too. If we hadn't had that misunderstanding, would we be happier now? The answer is, maybe not. If Kevin could boldly say those things, how could her father and brother ever have accepted her marrying me? So, no matter what, there would always be regrets. It's better to cherish the present. We've both become better, more mature adults, and even after encountering all kinds of people and seeing a broader world, we still find each other and fall in love again. That's what makes it so precious. I kissed her eyes, feeling her lashes tremble lightly on my lips. I said, "Anna, everything is just right." Chapter Extra. In front of others, Anna always acted like a gentle and refined lady, but only George knew just how jealous and scheming she could be. After they got married, she gradually showed her possessiveness. Whenever George looked at another woman, she would throw a little tantrum. She'd sulk and act all sarcastic, moody. She was basically like Ophelia from Shakespeare's Hamlet. As this happened more often, George grew tired of comforting her and decided it was time for a serious conversation. Every time this came up, she would act all melancholic, like she was on the verge of dying. Her expression would be so desolate, like a little abandoned animal. She knew exactly how to get to George, he just couldn't bring himself to scold her. Instead, he had to find another way to punish her. The next day, she woke up happily and made breakfast. The smile on her lips was impossible to hide. Only the faint red marks on her collarbone showed how she had been punished. Not only that, but she had also added all of George's exes: Maria, Sophia, Lisa, Laura. It was like she was reading off a list of people to target. Then she would post pictures of their baby and show off their love every few days. She posted, "So cute, looks just like my husband. My husband worked all morning just to make me breakfast. He loves me so much. Ugh." He's so clingy. What should I do? Oh, I forgot some people don't have a husband. The victims of these constant posts were easily triggered. Some couldn't resist and sent screenshots to George. Can you control your wife? George replied with a question mark. He took a deep breath, already planning how he was going to punish someone tonight.